Ultra-high net worth individuals invest in alternatives. However, Bank of America's CIO recommends investing in one specific high-performing alternative to rescue your cash. He's talking about fine art. 2/3 of millionaires already hedge against inflation with art, according to UBS, because the last time inflation was this high, art appreciated by an unprecedented 33.2% annually. Now, obviously, most folks don't exactly have tens of millions lying around to start buying Banksys and Basquiat's, but that's where Masterworks comes in. They're helping people keep their cash intact by offering fractional investments in the top 1% of the art world. And with a recession on the horizon, they've seen sign-ups increase by 320%. That combined with the fact that they speak to every investor to make sure art is right for them. That means there's a wait list, but I'm hooking you guys up with priority access to skip the line, and it's as easy as going to masterworks.com and using promo code CryptoConversation. That's masterworks.com, promo code CryptoConversation, and you can see important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.com/CD. Again, that's masterworks.com and use the promo code CryptoConversation to skip the line. And now, folks, it is on with the show. My guest today is Diego de Tommaso. Diego is the co-founder and COO of OVER, which is an AR and NFT Metaverse platform that layers over the entire world. Looks very interesting indeed. Welcome to the show, Diego.
Hi, hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you here, Diego. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show, which is I'll get you to please introduce yourself. Diego, where are you from? Who are you? What's your background? What have you been doing in the lead up to getting involved with OVER and AR, NFTs, all that good metaverse Web3 stuff?
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, my name is Diego de Tommaso. I'm raised and born in Italy. And basically, yeah, I mean, it's a long path that bring me here in some way. But the beginning probably is in 2014 when a friend of mine told me about this Bitcoin thing. And so basically back then I really felt in the rabbit hole and starting reading as much as I could. I mean, I thought that, we would have like hyper-Bitcoinization from there to like 2 years. Then, of course, it didn't happen. But then with time, I also get interested not only in Bitcoin, but in Ethereum. 2017, I was mining Ethereum, actually. And that's actually where the story started, to get it more real. Back then, I met my co-founder, that is Davide Cutini. That he was running actually a company that was building augmented reality for B2B use cases. And so we both had a passion about crypto. And so we started to imagine if we can actually build something that is not anymore only aimed to B2B, but is something scalable. If we can actually build, a layer over the physical world with augmented reality. So at the beginning, this sounded like a very crazy idea. And we had some hints, like we was looking at the Centron, that was our first inspiration. Back then, NFTs, for example, was not really a big thing because the only thing they was famous for is because they clogged the Ethereum network in 2017 with CryptoKitties. So now everybody knows about NFTs. They are in the broader public and so on. But back then, it was not so clear that this was going to work. And also, the term metaverse itself. That is something that came to the broader public just, I would say, 8 months ago. In fact, when we started the company and the venture, we was talking about a spatial web. Not really about the metaverse, because that term was not really out there yet. And yeah, so 2017, we started brainstorming the idea. 2018, we laid down the white paper, and we started going around the world to raise capital. Of course, we didn't raise anything because we were in a very, very hard bear market, if you remember that. But we stick with the idea. We kept building. So we had, maybe in hindsight, that was a kind of luck because we had time to build. So when in 2020, December 2020, we launched the platform, we had a kind of functioning product. And so we we started to stand out from the noise since the beginning, because we did not went out just with a white paper. And that would have happened if we went out like in 2018 when the market, was not really working. So when we started, we already have something to showcase. We already had an app and so on. And things went tremendously since the launch. Of course, we've been riding the bull market. We've been riding the NFT wave. We've been riding the metaverse wave. So it was an incredible 1.5 years. That also allow us to really expand our company, because the beginning of our journey, it was me, David, and other 3 people, so 5 people. So we launched the project in December 2020, just 5. But now we are 35 people, so we have a lot of more potential in building software, marketing, and so on. And so, things are very exciting. Even, of course, if now we are in bear markets, but we've been lucky enough to be through also the bull markets. So we created enough capital and also human capital to actually go through this bear market and keep building and developing.
Fantastic. So tell us a bit more about OVER then, Diego. So it's described as you're building the first augmented reality or AR open metaverse, and you enable your users to create unique geolocalized experiences that bridge the gap between the physical and the digital world. And you do this by utilizing community-driven 3D mapping, which gives OVER users and builders the opportunity to create and own AR metaverse real estate, map their local areas, and of course explore Web3. So it kind of makes sense, and I understand what that means, but do you want to just expand on that a little bit and talk about what you mean by these unique geolocalized experiences, and what is community-driven 3D mapping?
Yeah. No, thanks for this. You summarized it very, very well, actually. So, our vision from the beginning was to create a system to augment the physical world, to edit the physical world. So this, of course, passed through what is called geolocalized augmented reality. So augmented reality experiences that are actually customized to specific locations. So we can also think about that as mixed reality. Maybe this term works better than AR, that is more general. So in order to do that, our system, at least what we think is that you need to build this, is 3 main components. So one is an ownership layer, so a way to actually decide who owns what piece of land. And it's just like in the web. So you need to publish content on the web. You need a web domain system. So in our case, we have a spatial domain system. So we divided the world in hexagons of 300 square meters. And those are geographic locations. So for example, you can buy the hexagon representing the Colosseum. In that case, you can actually decide what content will be there. Just like in the web, you own Coca-Cola.com, you decide the content of the 2D page. In our case, you decide the content in AR that will be in that location. So this is the base layer. And over this layer, we have what you was mentioning about, we have this mapping layer. So since we are building a geolocalized augmented reality metaverse, we need a system to allow our devices to understand where you are in space. So the easiest system to do that is GPS. And GPS is quite fine for some use cases. Like, for example, Pokemon Go work with GPS and work fantastically. But there are not many other use cases that is good for, because basically it has a problem with precision. So outdoor is 2 to 6 meters if you are in the out space, with no big buildings around you. But already, like, for example, if you are in New York, GPS is not going to work. And in fact, if you use Google Maps, for example, it will ask you to point to the buildings, and you use AI to actually understand where you're in space. And also, inside buildings, GPS doesn't work. And unfortunately, we spend most of our lives inside buildings. So we needed a system to actually go beyond GPS. And this is what we call map to earn. So basically, people can go in locations, take pictures of these locations. And once we have these pictures, we create 2 things. So one is a 3D map of the location. And two, we train a neural network. So the next time the camera of the phone sees that location, understands where you are in space with 20 centimeters accuracy. That basically is what also our brain is doing. You look around, you understand where you're in space. And so we are reproducing this system. And what we think is important about that is that this is powered by what we call the Web3 ecosystem. So when people do this activity, they generate this 3D map, and they own this 3D map as an NFT. So this spatial data, we believe that is like the portal for this augmented reality metaverse, because without this data, you cannot really contextualize augmented reality experiences in space. So, I mean, Web2 companies like Google, I was mentioning before, Microsoft, Niantic, they are all going to this direction. So they are collecting this data and creating this system to locate in space. So our big vision is actually to create a Web3 version of that, where people that actually do this activity will own this data. So, and so they can actually be part of this portal to the metaverse. So this is the mapping that I was mentioning. And finally, we have the third layer that is a builder or a publisher. So a software that you can use to publish this content in space. So we have two kind of publishers. One is a web builder. So it's easy, just drag and drop 3D files or NFTs that you own. And then we have a more expressive tool that is a Unity plugin. So not only you can publish static assets, but you can actually also publish logics, even games in this augmented reality metaverse. And so far, 16,500 of these locations have been published by our community.
Yeah, fascinating, Diego. So if that's the case, then if you're focused on these unique geolocalized experiences, is there, you know, because you can imagine in a really densely populated area such as, let's say, New York, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that are perhaps interested in creating experiences there, or interacting with those experiences as a user or consumer. But, you know, where I live in Auckland, New Zealand, look, you know, we've got a couple of million people here, but it's not like New York. There are less people here, and then you can go out into rural areas as well. How does it work in those areas that are less populated?
Yeah, so basically this system of precise geolocalization, of course, will be more, widespread in locations where there's many people interested in being there. Like, for example, if you go in our website and you look at the world map, it's kind of interesting because that is a proxy on what are the good locations in the world. We sold 850,000 of these NFTs. And NFTs are like a wisdom of the crowds on what are the good locations in the world. So we will also start incentivizing the mapping exactly at the hit points of this heat map, because that is the locations that are more valuable, and more probably people will want to have geolocalized experiences that are precise over there. Having said that, also the periphery of, I don't want to call it the periphery of the world, but I mean also places that are not so much populated can be mapped, and we believe will be mapped, because the fact that you map a location basically adds superpowers to you when you're in that location. For example, you want to augment your room, your house. You want to have, for example, a huge screen in augmented reality in your wall, or you want to see virtual furniture and so on. If you map your room, you can actually do that very precisely. If you don't map it, it will be really uncontextualized AR, where you project something, but you not really know where is in space. And so we not only see, the use case for big cities and public usage of that, but also for more private usage of this technology, where people will actually want to augment something that is around them. And in fact, we see many people, of course, most of the people buy these NFTs or these lands in the most famous locations, but we also see that usually people also buy something in their area. So like, for example, I'm in Udine, and of course I bought some locations in New York and so on, but also I bought my home and my backyard because I wanted to test it around there and so on. So there's many people that, I would say that there will be people that go out and map it just to earn, and so to generate a map that maybe somebody will want to buy. But we also see many enthusiasts that really use the system just to project things around them where they can see it and interact with those. So we will be both, I guess. I hope I answer your question, of course.
Yes, I think so. And I'm just looking at the map now, and I can see that there is activity pretty much all over the world. So yeah, that's fascinating to see. I suppose if we zoom out a bit, Diego, it'd be good to get your, I guess, your perspective on why you think AR is the way to go. You know, traditionally when people talk about the metaverse, a lot of people kind of have this vision of a VR powered metaverse, but I think increasingly there is an expectation that some kind of mixed media AR is probably the way forward. So love to just hear your thoughts on why you've chosen to focus on AR, and then perhaps we can look at some of what's happening in the industry at the moment with new products coming soon from Google and Apple and so on.
Yeah, no. So thanks for asking this. I mean, we have a very bold and strong thesis on that. And I mean, as you mentioned, right now, the most important metaverses like the Decentraland and Sandbox and many others are all concentrating in VR. So when we talk about the metaverse right now, usually people think about VR. And I mean, we believe that this is a valuable use case that will keep growing from where we are right now. So we are still bullish on VR. Yet we think that AR will be much, much more bigger. And for kind of one simple reason and one more, I mean, broader reason. So for the simple reason is that we are physical beings. We live in the physical space, and we probably will not spend too many hours of our day having a system that is occlusive. So like Google's that takes you totally away from reality. Yes, we can spend some hours like that, but not most of our time. With augmented reality glasses, we will be able to actually add information to the physical world, but still having the physical world around us. So we will have contextualized information with the physical world. And if you think about that, we already spend 6 hours, 6.5 hours on average, at least the younger generation, staring at the phone. So this will just be an upgrade because you will not look down to the phone anymore. You will have your heads up looking at the real world. So coming to the more broad reason why we believe that AR is so important is because we believe that this will be the new way we will start interacting with information, and we see like a technological path in that direction. So starting back from, I mean, the invention of language to pictography, to writing, to actually mainframes where you can just access with, a small server, then desktop, laptops, mobile phones. So information is getting closer and closer to our visual field. And so we think that it's just inevitable that it will merge with it. And we see like companies like Apple, for example, that is taking so many efforts to actually bring augmented reality experience of their products. And of course, there is a reason for that, because if you see, for example, an Apple Watch or an iPhone on its screen, even if it's in 3D, you get a kind of impression of it. But if you see it mixed with reality, the impression that gets you, like emotionally, is much, much more stronger. And that's because our brain is wired to actually process spatial data. So augmented reality, in our vision, is the best way to actually deliver information to our brain, because our brain is wired to process 3D information. So that's why we really think that this is inevitable. And as soon as we will have some smart glasses that are cheap enough and works well enough to be widely spread, this will just happen. So how many years we are away from that, we don't really know. Maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 5 years, but it's going to happen for sure in the next 5 years, I guess. So yeah, that's why we're so bullish on this, and that's why we decided to focus in AR and not that much in VR.
Well, I think you're right, Diego. It's certainly going to happen in 5 years. I know, Google are they're trialing their latest prototype of some augmented reality glasses. Of course, they had the what they call the Google Glass, years ago. So they've obviously been working on this for a long time. But I saw that Apple are also working on at least 3 different augmented reality and virtual reality headset devices. The first of which is going to likely launch with the name Apple Reality Pro, and I saw a media report said that there's a minimum of 3 Apple headsets in development. And yeah, the first one, as I say, Apple Reality Pro, it'll be a rival to Meta's upcoming Quest Pro headset. So yeah, there's a lot kind of coming down the pipeline from these these big brands, big manufacturers, the likes of Apple and Meta and Google, and once that happens, then the opportunities for people such as yourself that are creating the products and services for people to play on. Well, it's going to be it's all going to come together, isn't it, Diego?
No, absolutely. So we've been experimenting with a few of the devices that are out there. For example, we've been working with Magic Leap. That is an amazing hardware, actually. And if you didn't try, go do that, because it's amazing. I mean, the way it maps your surroundings and really fuse information with reality is really impressive. The point with that device, for example, that it's really bulky. So you have like a GPU in your pocket and these very big glasses. So it's a nice proxy to understand how will be the visual experience, not a good proxy to understand how will actually be the total experience, because we believe that the way it will work is that the glass will be just a device to project information, while all the computation will stay in the supercomputers that we have in our pockets, that are our smartphones. And also we see this happening because both Google and Apple are embedding so much technology that enables AR in these devices. So chips that are designed specifically to actually process spatial data. So we expect like a lightweight glass connected with the mobile phone for crunching the data. So we're really looking forward for that.
Of course, and what's interesting about OVER and other, I suppose, Web3 focused AR platforms is the idea that you can, of course, the ownership layer. So being able to own whether it's NFTs or metaverse real estate, that does start to make things very interesting. And I don't know if you view other Web3 AR communities and platforms. Do you see them as competitors or potential collaborators or something else? I'm thinking of there's the likes of Jadu. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what Jadu are doing, but they're doing something a little bit similar. Obviously differences as well, but they see themselves as being a kind of an AR narrative layer for Web3.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, also I met the founder of Jadu. I think it was last year in Miami, for the Central. So yeah, I mean, we are all a little bit different. So I think we are the only one that have this very, very strong focus on building the layer to localize assets in space so precisely. So this mapping feature. But I believe that this is just a part of the puzzle. Because at the end of the day, as was Bill Gates that said this back in the days, that content is king. So the point is that this augmented reality and also virtual reality metaverses will succeed if there is content over there. And the good thing about that takes away from the Web2 competition mindset, is that thanks to this NFT standard, we have something that allows to these objects that exist in the metaverse to travel across different metaverses seamlessly. So in this sense, the fact that there are many people building both AR and VR metaverses is not actually a disadvantage anymore, as it could have been in the Web2 space, but it's an advantage, because if somebody creates some cool 3D assets, that of course, when I say 3D asset, it can work both in AR and VR. Actually, this benefits not only the platform where this object was created, but the whole metaverse. And so this is this idea of cross-metaverse interoperability that I believe is what really distinguishes what we want to create as a metaverse from like the Web2 space. Because with this, thanks to this paradigm, thanks to NFTs, basically you can actually emancipate content from the platforms where those was created. And we have quite a few examples of that we already built. Like, for example, we have sandbox assets that not only you can actually visualize in AR, but you can play with those in AR. So we have a control system. So as you can control these assets in sandbox, you can do it in AR on OVER. And so this is a very powerful thing if you think about it. When we did it, and the interesting thing also is that when we did it, when we bring these assets to OVER, we did not even ask to sandbox to do that. Because those assets are permissionless. So imagine if we did something like that with Fortnite. First of all, we cannot do that. And second, they would sue us. So when I showed to Sebastian this integration, he was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Let's do more. So you don't have this kind of collaboration in Web2 world. And I mean, I'm very proud that there is this kind of collaboration in the metaverse, in the Web3 space of the metaverse. And I really committed in keeping things like that. And of course, we are like an emerging metaverse. And so for us, it's easy to say that. But the fact that the big incumbents like Sandbox or the Central are working in that direction really give us not only hope, but I mean, there's a path in that direction. So even the big incumbents are really open to this collaboration with other metaverses and so on, even if they would not need it, because they say, why? Why do I need my asset to be cross? But the fact that they are in Web3 and they embrace this philosophy is what, I mean, makes those metaverses interested also. So yeah, I mean, there are, I mean, many companies that are building in this, but I would not really see them as competitors. Of course, everybody will try to I mean, have more users and so on. But the fact that there are many companies that are building in that space is only positive for the whole space. So, yes. So yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, that's what's great of Web3, I think.
And also interesting, you talk about this idea of interoperability, I suppose, across not only different chains but different metaverse environments. And one of the trends that we see is this idea of wearables, right? And you can kind of extrapolate that to, let's say, fashion and the metaverse, right? And so I know that with you guys, you can create your own unique personal avatar, and presumably over time you'd be able to create different wearables or different outfits. And of course, that leads to the possibilities of doing, different collaborations with fashion brands and the like, right? And am I right in thinking, Diego, you had some background in fashion as well?
Oh yeah, yes, of course. In my past life, I was working in fashion because my family basically had some fast fashion shops. Actually, we sold those in 2012, so it's kind of the past. But then actually, before getting into this Web3 crypto and metaverse world, I was working also with PwC in fashion consulting. So yes, let's say that half of my life is in fashion, and I'm very fascinated about the opportunities that fashion have also for the metaverse. Because if you think about fashion, is not only about spending money in buying clothes, but it's about actually signaling, telling to the community about who you are, about yourself. So we see this quite clearly now in what is the 2D metaverse. For example, in Twitter, people get crazy to have their amazing PFP that is an NFT that maybe is very valuable, or anyway, it connotates you like part of a community. So as soon as our presence in this metaverse will be more physical with our avatars, we will want to actually dress up these avatars like we want to dress up ourselves to showcase who we are and to tell that we are part of a community. So I see this like a huge business. And that's why we've been concentrating also in that direction. So right now you can create NFTs that you can, of course, own, like all the NFTs, and you can actually let our avatars wear these NFTs. And again, the wearables is the most complex cross-metaverse object because every metaverse has its own avatars. So you need to create different files for each metaverse if you want to allow these assets to be wear by different in different metaverses. But that's something that we are also committed to. So what we are working on, for example, is having our clothes that can be wear also from the Centraland avatars. So the idea really is that when you create an NFT that is a wearable, that is a clothes, you should be able to take this NFT and bring it to different metaverses. And it's a no-brainer if you think about that, because it's like, I don't know, you go in Hermes, you buy a Birkin bag, then you cannot bring it out from the shop. It doesn't make sense. You want to be able to actually buy something, buy these digital objects, and bring those with you in different metaverses. And this is what is going to happen anyway. And so yeah, that is another thing we're really bullish on, actually.
Very nice. All right, well, let's go to a very quick break, Diego, and then we will come back and we'll start to finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll run you through the very famous Crypto Conversation hot take round back in 1 second.
Here's what's being said about Masterworks.
My name is Jacob N. I'm from Long Island, and I've invested over $73,000 with Masterworks. My portfolio performance just wasn't cutting it. I researched all these alternative investments, like crypto and NFTs, but they didn't make sense to me. Then I read about Masterworks in Forbes, and I signed up right away. And now you can too. Thanks, Masterworks.
Get VIP access at masterworks.io and use promo code JACOB. See important disclosures at masterworks.io/DC.
All right, and we are back, and I'm with Diego de Tommaso. Diego is the co-founder and COO of OVER. As we've heard, it's an AR NFT Metaverse platform that layers over the entire world. Lots of cool stuff happening. Diego, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Yeah, of course. Let's do that.
All right, just going to run some questions at you, Diego. Yeah, quick, snappy answers. Hot take style. Question 1 is a bit of a funny one for you, but where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
Well, I'm kind of an anti-Bitcoin maximalist, so maybe this is a little bit biased answer from myself. So I see, a very strong community building, and that has been building for decades, not decades, but almost decades now, on the Ethereum community. So I see people very committed in bringing innovation and new ideas over there. And that's why, I'm so passionate about that ecosystem if compared to the Bitcoin ecosystem that where basically the lack of change is not a bug, but a feature in the vision. While, at least on my side, I'm more on the experimentation and innovation side. So that's why I'm more on the Ethereum side. And regarding the multi-chain, that could happen and probably will happen. But what I see that is more probably probable, it's the fact that we will have multiple layer tools that are built on the most neutral and credible layer that is Ethereum and maybe Bitcoin if it upgrades.
It makes sense, Diego. Okay, well, and what would you say then is your firmest conviction Web3 opinion?
Again, sorry, can you rephrase the question? I didn't.
Firmest conviction, crypto opinion.
Well, I mean, of course, again, I kind of biased, but I think that this Web3 wave is just inevitable, just because we spend so much time on the metaverse. I mean, in a broader term, I mean, we stare at the screen of a computer or a mobile phone for hours a day. So it totally makes sense that what is on the other side of the screen need to have value. And really Web3, and I mean, starting from blockchain that gave you, I mean, ownership of fungible assets like coins, the fact that we will have the Web3 will expand to allow people to actually own non-fungible objects that, I mean, are part of this broader sense metaverse, is just really inevitable. So sometimes when I see many detractors of the Web3 space, I don't really get it, because also most of these detractors spend most of their time in front of a computer and a screen. So yeah, I think that this is just inevitable.
Very nicely said, Diego. All right, well, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, you know, with that in mind, what do you think happens in 10 years' time? What does Web3 AR look like in 10 years' time?
Well, I believe that, I mean, AR will be very pervasive. So really that will be the next way we interact with the information. So in 10 years time, looking at somebody staring at his phone will be like seeing somebody typing on his T9 on the Nokia phone right now. So something like anachronistic. And yeah, I mean, Web3 will be the ownership layer of all of this new economy that will flourish around these digital assets. And actually 10 years, time is very long to predict, but another trend that we was not mentioning, but I think will really have a huge impact is AI, because we see already today something very impressive, like I guess, I'm sure you're aware of, like DALL-E 2, so the ability to generate images and soon 3D assets from just speech, natural language, yes. And also all this incredible implementation of what are called large language models. So the capacity of building text and soon conversations will totally change and very strongly impact our society. So I really believe that 10 years from now will be a very, very different world from the one where we see today.
Yes, indeed. All right, well, time to zoom out just for a second, Diego, time to get weird. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
This is a very tough question. So I believe that we are building the tools to actually build boats, and we could go down. I mean, we could go very polarized in both directions. And I see crypto and Web3 as a way to actually having an alternative to the power of the nation state. So something to keep that in check. So I believe that actually crypto is a very, very positive force. So not only about the economics that it generates and so on, but about the fact that it gives us, I mean, an alternative and takes away some of the overwhelming power that we see in nation states that could go right, could go in the right direction, but it could also go very wrong. And so the fact that we have this alternative, I think that is something that give us more hope in the positive outcome other than in the negative outcome. But having said that, I mean, also people sometimes is a kind of negative and always say, you know, in the past we was better and so on. But I think this is totally not true. and I mean, the past was much worse than now. And I mean, thanks to technology, we have so many opportunities. I mean, we really live in an age of abundance in terms of our basic needs. And so, again, the reason why I'm kind of positive is that when we have so much abundance, and this abundance will keep growing, because I mean, technology never stops. I mean, the effort to have a positive outcome is much more smaller than have a negative outcome, you know, because I mean, resources are not so much scarce anymore. And so, I mean, yes, we could screw it up, but I believe it should be kind of unlikely.
Very nicely said, Diego. All right, well, let's finish this off. The final question is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Well, this is a kind of, not so surprisingly, but I guess that the one that more impressed me, I mean, giving a strong sense to my emotions was The Matrix. So it's not so fancy, probably. It's not so niche, but I think that was a very powerful way to popularize this idea of a simulation world and so on. So yes, I think that was one movie that really influenced me, and everybody should have a look at.
I love it. Yep, that's a great answer. Matrix, yeah, did a lot to popularize this idea of simulation theory indeed. All right, well, Diego, been fascinating talking to you today. Nothing else really to say except hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Please tell the listeners where they can find you on Twitter or wherever else you like to hang out. And, you know, what should people do if they want to start to get involved with OVER, either kind of on the developer side or the geospatial mapping side, or just as a user? What should they do?
Well, I think that, well, first of all, to get to me and, I mean, over the company and so on, just please go through the official links in the website, because we know that we are in crypto and everybody will try to cheat you. So please just go on the official links. And regarding the way that people can start getting involved in this space, I think the first thing is just downloading the app and trying themselves, I mean, yourself, what is the AR experiences and capabilities that we already enable. And then, of course, I think it would be very cool if people try the mapping. Also because right now, in the next 2 weeks, we will also enable from this mapping the generation of a neural render. So you will be able to actually create a virtual fly-through the space you mapped. So this is a neural network that actually hallucinates what is the location from a few frames that it sees from the space. So if you want to create some cool animations like that, you can definitely jump on and try it. So this is another way you can do that. And of course, if you are a 3D developer or builder, please just go through our documentation, test the web builder, just drag and drop NFTs or 3D files that you have and see it in augmented reality. Or if you can code in Unity, please test our plugin, because it's kind of powerful and we are very proud of it.
Awesome. Like I said, fantastic talking to you, Diego. All the best, and bye for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, there you go. That was Diego from OVER. Yeah, fascinating. AR, yeah, I think it's going to be big. And of course, the ownership layer for NFTs and digital scarcity and AR. Could be a game changer, I think. So yeah, watching with fascination. Bring it all on, I reckon. That was today's show. Thank you for listening. This was the Crypto Conversation for